Since I started this channel, I've wanted to make this video about my favorite game of all time. Now, I'm not saying it's the best game of all time, or even the one I play the most, but this game happens to be the one I have a very personal attachment to, for a lot of reasons, but the main one has to do with my struggles as a child growing up. Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars had the biggest impact on me growing up as a very awkward kid. And to give an honest account on exactly why this game means so much to me, I'll have to share some pretty personal information about myself and discuss some of the issues I had. You see, for some people we have that one game or franchise that had such an impact on us that we develop a close bond to it, a love for the game above all others, and we carry that bond throughout our lives. For example, my friends JR and Lauren have such an attachment to the Legend of Zelda franchise that they actually named their first child after Zelda herself. Their love for the Zelda franchise is forever a part of their history together. JR spent his childhood living in Japan, where he would discover his first Zelda game, A Link to the Past. And when he wasn't playing Zelda, he was off with his friends in a nearby wooded area, having adventures and playing around, even referring to it as his own little lost woods. Now, Lauren, on the other hand, wouldn't discover her love for the franchise until the day JR gave her this Zelda heart piece necklace, asking her out. And wouldn't you know it, she accepted. Now fast forward years later to Anime Expo of 2015, JR would take that opportunity while they were both cosplaying as Zelda and Link to propose to Lauren. And once again, she accepted. And with a new baby on the way, I'd like to be the first to welcome baby Tingle. Alright, that's enough of that. So what about me? What's my story? Well, why don't we get a little background on the game in question first. Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars was released back in 1996 for the SNES, and was developed by Square and Nintendo. This of course was before Square and Enix had merged their companies. This would also be the final Mario game released on the SNES. However, Mario RPG's success was limited due to Nintendo releasing their latest console, the Nintendo 64, just 4 months after the game was released. So everybody was already thinking about the N64 coming out and saving their coins for that. Hey, are you listening? Oh, you're distracted by these amazing figures and this beautiful shelf I put together? Don't worry, we'll get to that later. This was also the first turn-based role-playing game for the Mario franchise. For once, players could guide Mario all around the Mushroom Kingdom and explore new areas, talk to townsfolk, and meet allies along the way. It was a huge change in direction from the usual platforming, run to the end of each level gameplay that we were used to. Not to mention, for me, this would be the first time I'd get to know Mario in a more personal way. Before, he was always just the plumber that platforms around and jumps on every enemy and saves the princess in the end. But in Mario RPG, the developers gave Mario way more personality and characteristics that you didn't really see in previous Mario games. Mario was suddenly bursting with humor and expression and a cute playfulness about him that gave a lot more depth to his character in the game. Did I also mention he does fantastic impressions and pantomiming? In this adventure, not only does Mario have to save Princess Peach from Bowser, but he also has to face a new enemy called Smithy, whose minions have broken Star Road and therefore ended the possibility of wishes being granted. Mario must collect the 7 scattered star pieces and defeat Smithy to save the day and make wishes come true once again. Being able to explore the world of Super Mario was an amazing experience for me as a small boy with a huge imagination. I'd spend most of my time just exploring every inch of all the areas I could go into. Being that young, you don't really think about the choices the developers made and the gameplay and image quality and stuff like that. You are absolutely immersed in this game, you know it's real, and you know that the fate of the world is in your hands. Although I make it sound like this game was a instant home run with me and I immediately fell in love with it, that's not the case at all. In fact, I wrote this game off as soon as I started playing it for the first time. Why, do you ask? Because I had to read. As soon as I saw those text boxes appear, I noped the heck out of there and forgot about the game altogether. This is where we get into the heart of the impact this game had on me. Growing up, I was an energetic, anxiety-filled kid with a passion for anime, video games, and Bruce Lee. Yeah, what? Your childhood hero wasn't Bruce Lee? You mean to tell me you didn't spray paint his image on the side of your 2005 Pontiac Sunfire with the fake rims? Okay, weirdo. Yeah, I was your average socially awkward boy. But privately, I was dealing with something I was extremely ashamed of. I couldn't read. Growing up with a learning disability is no fun. It felt as if someone had put a curse on me. Getting myself to decode and understand what I was reading was a huge challenge. So much so, I remember I would normally break a sweat from how hard I had to concentrate while doing my schoolwork. I hated it. I felt humiliated. So, I avoided reading at all costs. If it wasn't schoolwork, I would ignore it. Books were a burden to me. Stories and video games I would just skip through, and board games scared the crap out of me. Even in my late teens, I was always terrified that I would mess up on a word or not be able to read a playing card in front of all my friends. So most of the time I would just pass on playing board games with my friends and pretend I wasn't interested or that I had to go soon or something like that, while all the while I was just terrified what they would think if they saw that I couldn't read or uneducated or something. Now, this video isn't about what struggles I have with learning or how hard it was for me growing up. I'm just giving you a background as to why Mario RPG is the game that I have a huge personal attachment to. At this point in the video, I want to say if you are someone dealing with a learning disability, you should never ever feel ashamed for it. The truth is, it'll always be embarrassing. But what helped me the most was learning to accept it for what it is, and that it's a part of you that makes you, you. Eventually I got to the point where I could just say, hey, I have trouble reading, y'all. Give me a second. You'll find that most people don't care that you have a learning disability and they won't think any less of you. And the ones that may tease or laugh at you for whatever reason are never worth your attention anyway. You're just as intelligent as anyone else. You just have to work a lot harder than they do. And that deserves respect. So when did I start playing Mario RPG? After a while, I'd occasionally see my cousins playing it from time to time, and it always looked like so much fun. I saw that you got to go all around the Mario universe, and I wanted to experience that for myself so much. By the way, this was a few years after the game came out. I didn't start playing Mario RPG when I was 5 years old. My family was very poor anyway, so I was always like a couple generations behind. It was cheaper that way. So one day I finally decided to put in the game, boot it up, and start playing for myself. Now I'd love to say that my love for Mario and this game cured my reading issues and I was able to play it and it was great. No. I actually had to play this game really slowly. I eventually got through each text box, but it was a difficult process. Luckily for me, I had my older sister who was practically born reading to help me out on the words I couldn't get or couldn't understand myself. So that was a big help. Without even realizing it, I was fully immersed in the game and completely committed. I understood the jokes, I loved the humor and enjoyed the different character types and stories. They even made an actual reference to my childhood hero, Bruce Lee. It's like the game was made for me. I remember running up to my mom shouting that they just mentioned Bruce Lee in the game. Bruce Lee is in the game. And also just having a sense of pride welling up inside me for successfully reading the game up to that point. I was thrilled to keep playing this game and progress further in the story. Before I knew it, I had finally experienced what a joy reading could be. It was still difficult, but it got me to branch out and play other games with scary text boxes like Pokemon or The Legend of Zelda. I actually never got past the sunken ship part of Mario RPG as a kid, but the difficulty in the gameplay didn't take anything away from the joy I felt playing this game over and over up to the sunken ship part, and reading the story, having fun as Mario, having Bowser as an ally, and did I mention the soundtrack? There is a reason this game is so renowned and beloved for, if nothing else, the soundtrack. Any of you guys jam out to classic SNES music in your car? No? Just me? Okay, that's what I thought. But come on, this is one of the best soundtracks in gaming history. And it was composed by a legend in her field, Yoko Shimomura, who not only did the soundtrack of Mario RPG, but then went on to do other games like Kingdom Hearts. Just listen to some of these tracks. In addition to an amazing soundtrack, this game is jam-packed with unique character designs never before seen in the Mario franchise, and in some cases have yet to return. I purchased this Super Mario RPG Player's Guide recently, and it's actually in really good condition despite being from 1996, I believe. It's a fantastic and outstandingly laid out guidebook that's really fun to search through and learn all there is about the game. What I appreciate most about this guidebook are the 3D designs of some of the characters you don't normally get to see in such detail, like Frogfucius the Wise, Torovsky the Composer, Gaz with his Geno doll, Booster, and Jinx. Here you can see what each sprite was modeled off of, and like me, discover a lot of details you may have missed, such as Mac, one of the earlier bosses in the game, actually has little arms and legs that are attached to the pogo stick-like sword he rides. Or how Yardavich, or how this guy, another boss in the game, actually has a little red mustache. Or how about Hinopio, the really cool, buff shopkeeper, actually has a little heart tattoo on his shoulder. There were a lot of firsts for the Mario franchise in this game. For once, Bowser is your ally. Bowser is kind of a good guy. It was a new experience we had never got before. He was funny, he was lovable, and had a softer side in contrast to his hard, spiky shell. We also got introduced to new characters like the Heavy Troopas, the iconic, heavily memed Thick Yoshi, Boshi, the Wario equivalent of Yoshi, Geno, who also disappeared after this game was released, and despite that has become one of the most popular characters in the Nintendo universe, and was one of the most requested to join the Smash roster. We also got Mallow, who didn't get the level of fame as Geno, but is still a beloved character. I mean, what's not to love about a little cute cloud boy who was raised by frogs and believed to be one his whole life? Super Mario RPG is a masterpiece. It may not be the best game in the world, but it was there for me at the right time. It will always be my favorite game, and it will always have a special place in my heart. Sure, I may not have gone all out and dressed up like Geno when I proposed to my wife, but who knows, perhaps one day I'll introduce to the world a little baby Booster. For this video, I wanted to have some Mario RPG merch to display, since original Mario RPG merchandise is kind of expensive, which brings us to these figures I got. Shout out to Nico3D for this amazing Mario RPG figure set. I'll link his website where you can purchase these digital 3D models yourself. I bought these with my own money, so not a sponsor, but you'll also need to 3D print these yourself. So I'd also like to give a shout out to my 3D printer guy, Mike, for doing an amazing job on these figures and their stands. For the paint job, I just used acrylic paint, hand brushed, and for the finisher, I used Angelus 4 coat, which is what I use on my Nikes that I custom paint. For these, it gave it a really nice matte finish. It always does on the shoes, which is why I love Angelus 4 coat so much. If you're interested in seeing how to paint shoes or customize shoes, I have a video on that. But these took up every weekend I had for like the past month just to finish painting these. It was a lot of work. So that's where I've been all this time, in case you were wondering. Also, I want to shout out the Etsy store Joseph's Junk for this fantastic posable Geno figure I bought. I'll link their shop as well. He has different options to buy this figure. You can get him in a basic, cheaper color option, which is what I got, and then you paint it yourself. Or you can get a completely painted, finished version of this figure for a bit more. This Etsy store also has a bunch of other really cool figures to check out. Also not a sponsor. If you made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you want more content, hit that subscribe button, follow me on Instagram, and please leave a comment down below. What's your favorite game and why? I love talking to you guys in the comments, so I'm really going to look forward to that. Have a fantastic day. I'll see you next time.